Hey everybody, it's Ken. Just wanted to let you know that I have produced another issue of the codex. When I first created this zine, I called it the codex, and then because it's a typeset in LaTeX, which is spelled like latex, but it's actually pronounced LaTeX or LaTeX. Somebody on Reddit joked and said it's pronounced the codec, right? The codec. And I thought, oh, that's pretty clever. So I like that. I just thought I'd show you what my proofreading process looks like, because it's kind of extensive. So when I finally get the whole thing written and I get it to 40 pages, I print a copy out on. Of course, this thing is set up to be a half sheet size. So I print it out on a full sheet of paper because it gives me room around the outside to put in lots of notes. And for some reason, I screwed up. This was my first proofreading pass, and I printed it single-sided, which I don't typically do that because I find that's wasteful of paper, and I don't need to have a blank backside. So I'll probably use this for scrap paper for drawing or taking notes or whatever. I did have a thing. There is a detect function, which you can then run through the WC function to get a word count. It's not 100% accurate, but when I did it with this one, it's 11,438 words in 40 pages. So this is about anywhere, it's like a third of a novella to, an eighth of a tenth of an average-sized novel. So anyway, I print out one side, and then I go through and I read it, and I just start marking things. And I did not find a whole lot in this first run through. There's a few things here. Here's a couple of things that I left out. Short note here. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot in this, and that's because I printed this out about a day after I actually finished writing it. And my brain has been looking at this so much that it's not going to catch mistakes. So I come back a week later. I go in and make those fixes. Okay, I go back in a week later, and this is part of why this process takes a while. I print this out again, and this time, hey, look at this. I printed this out on both sides, and so I did find more changes, and every single time I think, well, this is it. This is everything that I get done. Some of this is like typesetting notes. Like I don't want all this item separation in here. There's too much white space. Or here, I want to move this word over to here. Some of it is catching typos. Don't know if I have a good. Oh yeah, I do have a right here. I caught a typo, and I do this little thing where I'll make a mark here with what I want to change, and then I'll put a little mark here in the over here in the margin so that I know to go through and do that. And if there's a lot of these with some of my other stuff, I will go through and I'll check them off with a pencil as I make those changes, just so that I make sure I'm catching them all. But this one is pretty straightforward. Although you look at this page, here are 5 different typesetting kind of issues that I found. Spelling errors. I took some parentheses out. Here I missed a whole sentence that I should have put in there. So what I do is there we go. I go through. I read this over the course of a couple of days with a pen in hand. I make notes in the margins. Then I go in. I add those changes. Print it out. Wait a week, and then here's my proofreading pass number 3. And I'm like, well, here we go. So here's a few. I used a pencil this time. I'm not quite sure why. It doesn't show up as well. But again, you can look in the margins here and see, sometimes I'm still getting kind of rewording the wording, or adding things in here. Yes, this is how computers think, i.e. process inputs. You have to be specific. That's the whole point of this. And I've written it and gone through it twice already, and I left out the sentence. It's the most important, which is that you have to be specific when you're on the command line. And you can see here, actually, there's pen and pencil. So I've actually gone through this one twice, probably. I decided to take out some lines, so I just squiggle through them, you know, and you know, there's more changes. There's more changes in this one than there was in this one, and I think, okay, finally I've got it. So I jump in the computer, I make all these changes, I print this out, I let it sit in my desk for a week. I come back, and this is proofreading number 4. And I'm like, yep. And I actually had some notes on here about things I'm going to cover in the next issue. So don't throw out this page. Note to myself here, don't throw out this page. So this is proofreading pass number 4. And again, it's the same kind of thing. I have a note here. I put this little squiggly thing up in the corner so that I know that I have something to change here. And again, I'm making changes I did not think I would make. I thought I had caught everything, but I did. And there, look, I left out a whole paragraph of stuff. So that's proofreading pass number 4. And then what I did, because I'm so used to looking at this in a fully typeset form, what I did was I used that DTEX function, DETEX, and I converted it to a text document, which I then, to save space, I just imported it into LibreOffice Writer and set it up as a 2-column document, and went through, and I'm looking at this as a monotype text and catching things like here, there's a space. There's a space between the end of a word and the quotation mark that should not be there. And I also put a note, hey, did you actually catch that spelling? You need to check that. Everything with a line through it, it's like that paragraph is okay. But again, here, 2 spaces. Now, LaTeX actually collapses those 2 into 1, but I still get in a state of high dudgeon about it. So I look at all of these changes, and then I go back and I make it, and I'm like, finally, I'm done. I've looked at this multiple times as it's actually typeset. I've gone through and looked at just a text version of it, and I think I've caught everything. So what I do then is go through and I'll print out an actual copy the way it's supposed to look. And I'm like, cool, this is the actual finished product. And it's not, because as you can see, I've caught things that I'm like, yeah, gosh, I meant to change that wording, and I didn't. And I didn't catch it until it looked like this. So this is actually proofreading pass number, this was 4, this was 5, this is 6. If you think about it, I went through one of these with both pen and pencil, so I went through it twice. So this is actually my 7th proofreading pass. I've proofread this thing 7 times. And you know what? I'm like, now I have it. I've got it all. Everything's perfect. I printed copies to sell. Looked at one of them. There's still typos in there. So it's just the way it goes. But anyway, that's how I proofread stuff. It takes a while. This is probably like a month's worth of work because I let this rest for about a week in between. It's just too fresh in my mind otherwise. So that's what I do. That's my proofreading process. That's why these things take so much time to get from raw material to this. And yes, I'm going to recycle all of this, except this one. I'm going to use it for notes. And then I'll recycle it. So that's it. That's how it happens. Magic, isn't it?